Hi folks, we're going to turn our attention now to the religious changes of the 1500s because this is going to have a massive impact on crime and punishment. And to recap the situation in England by 1500, England is part of the Roman Catholic Church, which is a gigantic Christian organisation that spreads across Western Europe and has a church in pretty much every village. Now it's led by the Pope. He's seen as God's representative on earth. He lives in Rome and is the ultimate authority in the Catholic Church. And the Church also supports hundreds of what we'd call religious communities. So groups of people who've dedicated their lives to God and the Church and who live together in places like nunneries and monasteries and abbeys, aiming to do the most good that they can. In theory. Now, the church is really powerful and really influential in England. Estimates are that it employs 1 in 6 people. So, right, employs there to make it a bit clearer. It employs 1 in 6 people. It owns 20% of all the wealth in England, including a lot of its land. And it also has quite a big role in the law and in crime and punishment. So the church can try people for moral crimes, for breaking the laws of its behaviour. And it also has its own special courts for churchmen. So churchmen who commit crimes can't actually be tried or punished by the king. So it's really powerful. And in the early 1400s, it puts several people to death because they are lollards and they are criticising it. So it calls those people heretics and it burns them to death. However, that doesn't stop the criticisms from happening. And in 1517, a German monk called Martin Luther very famously and very publicly nails a list of questions and criticisms of the church to the door of the church in Wittenberg in Germany. And this must have been long because it's called the 95 Theses. So it's in 1517 and this is called the 95 Theses. And this has the effect of really opening up the debate for people about what their beliefs are and what they expect from the church. And as people talk about it, more and more of them begin to protest against the things that the Roman Catholic Church is doing. And because of this, they are called Protestants or Protestants. Now, they have a number of problems with it. One is that the churchmen don't always really behave in the way that they're supposed to. Like any big organisation, the Catholic Church does contain workers who don't follow its rules and don't work very hard. And that's very annoying for the Protestants when they are being instructed by the church not to break the rules themselves. Another criticism that they have of the church is that it's very, very rich and that money isn't really being used in the right way, because quite often, rather than being used to help poor people, that money is going into the pockets of the church leaders. Even worse to the Protestants is the fact that quite often the Catholic Church promises people God's forgiveness if they give it money. So, for example, you could pay to have a little extension built on the side of your local church called a chantry chapel, and then when you died, the priest would be able to go in there and pray for your soul so that you would get to heaven quicker. Now, to Protestants, this looks very much like the Roman Catholic Church playing on the fears that people have about the afterlife in order to make money. And they have a problem with that. But an awful lot of the disagreements between the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church are just about the way that they interpret the Bible and what they believe about Christianity. Because remember, they're both Christian. And I find that the best way to illustrate this difference in beliefs is by looking at how they wanted their churches to be, because that can tell us quite a lot about what they think. So we'll start off with the Roman Catholic Church. Now, the first thing to know about this is that the Bible and the prayers and the services would be in the ancient Roman language of Latin. So really you were relying on the church workers, the clergymen, to translate the meaning of the Bible to you. And because most people didn't understand Latin and therefore didn't really understand what was going on, the church would paint big pictures on its walls. And these might relate to what happens to you when you die, or might illustrate scenes from the Bible to teach people about those. So the Catholic Church would be very bright and very vibrant when you went into it. And this also reflects one of the Catholic beliefs, which is that the church should really put people in mind of and reflect the glory of God. So they wanted it to be very awe-inspiring and to look very beautiful and colourful. So they would have stained glass windows, for example. They would also fill the church with valuable items, so ornaments and statues and images that were made out of gold and silver, and that were very valuable and very precious. Again, to remind people of the glory of God. And the priest would also wear very brightly coloured clothes. If you wanted to pray to God, you would ask the priest to do it for you, because he was holier than you and God was more likely to listen to him. And you can imagine that if you were a medieval peasant and you spent all day in the fields looking at turnips, then to come into the church on a Sunday and to see the sun streaming through the stained glass windows and lighting up the pictures and making the beautiful and valuable ornaments gleam, and to smell the incense that they would burn in the church and to hear the singing, this would be quite an impressive experience. Now, the Roman Catholics have a ceremony in which people eat bread and drink wine to remember the sacrifice of Jesus. A lot of Christian churches have this. It's a big part of their beliefs. In the Catholic Church, this service is called Mass. And they believed that when you took Mass, the bread and the wine literally turned into the body and the blood of Jesus. So this belief is called Transubstantiation. Bear with me, it's really a hard word to write while you're talking. And it's a really important belief to them. Now, unfortunately, this is one belief that the Protestants can't get behind. And actually that causes quite a lot of problems and a lot of disagreements between them. Now, the Protestants at this point are really only talking about what they think a church should be like, but some of their ideas are starting to come through. So, for example, they don't believe that the church should be rich looking. They think that if the church has money, it should be spent on helping people. So no pictures, no stained glass windows. Actually, the Protestants, or some Protestants, believe that to have distractions in the church was wrong, because people were in church to concentrate on God and to pray. And the Protestants believe that God's forgiveness is for everybody, so that everybody can really find out about God and talk to him. So the Bible would be in the language of that country. In England, it would be in English. And you wouldn't need your priest to pray for you, because you could pray to God yourself. And the priest wouldn't wear fancy clothes, he would wear plain clothes. Also, a difference in the Catholic Church, where priests weren't allowed to get married or have sex. In the Protestant Church, priests could be married. So that's another difference in their beliefs. In the Protestant Church as well, it was sometimes seen as sinful to have pictures or images or carvings of God or Jesus, because that was seen as quite disrespectful. So there are a lot of differences between what the Roman Catholics see as the role of the church and what the church should be doing, and what Protestants see should be the role of the church and what the church should be doing. Now, it's worth saying this is presented here as two very separate choices. Actually, it's a bit more like a scale, because everybody has their own individual beliefs, and a lot of people might, for example, agree with some things about the Catholic way of doing things and some things about what the Protestants are saying. So it can operate on a scale. But that's basically the differences between how they believe that the church should run. And in England in 1500, people are thinking about this and they're talking about this, and some of them are agreeing with what is being said by the Protestants. But then in the 1530s, things get very complicated, and they get complicated because of this man. This is Henry VII. He is the second Tudor king. No, it's not Henry VII. I'm really sorry. It's Henry VIII, obviously. He's the second Tudor king, and he rules from 1509 to 1547. Now, he's actually a very strong Catholic. He agrees with the Catholic beliefs and indeed executes 81 Protestants as heretics because they criticised the Catholic Church. However, in the 1530s, Henry effects a massive change in the church that is called the break with Rome. And this effectively means that although the English church stays the same in a lot of ways, it breaks away. The church in England and all the churches in England break away from the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, and they break away from the authority of the Pope. And because a lot of the monasteries are really powerhouses of loyalty to the Roman Catholic Church and the Pope, Henry also shuts those down, sometimes very violently. So that's called Dissolution of the Monasteries. And there's a number of reasons why he does this. Partly because he wants a divorce from his wife and the Pope won't give him one. Partly because some people think he wanted the power and the money that the church owned. But either way, in 1534, in a law, Parliament passes a law called the Act of Supremacy, which makes Henry the head of a new church called the Church of England. And you can see that this is really bringing the issues of religion and the law, and therefore crime and punishment, much closer together, because now the person who makes the laws is also the head of the church, and vice versa. And when Henry dies, his three children then implement these changes in different ways. So first of all, when Henry dies, for example, we have Edward VI, who's only 10 when he becomes king, and then dies while he's in his teens. So he's king from 1547 to 1553. Now, because his guardians are strong Protestants, under Edward, all the churches in England change to become like this. Henry kept them very Catholic, but under Edward they change to become very, very Protestant, and the stained glass is taken out and the churches are made very plain. However, when he dies, his sister, Mary I, is a very strong Catholic, so she immediately rejoins the Church of England with the Roman Catholic Church, and she puts everything back to the way that it was. When she dies, her sister Elizabeth is then on the throne for 45 years, and Elizabeth tries to find a middle way, because by then England is really deeply divided over these questions. So Elizabeth tries to create a church that incorporates what people like about Catholicism with what people like about Protestantism. And having done this, though, she then expects everybody to go along with it, because here's the thing. Because the church is now so bound up with the power of the crown, the people can't choose how they worship. The people have to worship in the way that they're told to by the kings or the queens. And if they don't, that puts them at risk of being labelled a criminal and punished as a criminal. So we'll have a look at what the results of that will be in the next section. I will see you there.